Welcome to the Horror Archive. Tonight's entry is a recovered first-person account, preserved and stored for documentation purposes. If you're new here, the archive collects stories that are somewhere between memory and malfunction. Accounts of things that were seen, experienced, or survived, though not always understood. Some entries are fictional, some are unverified, and some exist in a category we don't have language for yet. You don't need to believe any of it to continue, but if you've made it this far, listener beware. You are now beyond the point of no return. This is one of my earliest memories. It was my first experience with the weird. The house was green, the porch wood silvered and dry. We lived in the country outside Winsboro then. My family was different then. This is the before time when my parents were still a team. Everyone is playing around the living room, their bodies heavy and solid. My parents' faces not yet hollowed out or spotted by the dope. I am watching them from the outside. The front door is wide open until the glass changes behind me. A figure. Someone behind me. When I notice there's someone there, I turn, and it's as if the heat is sucked right out of the air. It looks like a person, but it isn't. It isn't anything I'd ever seen before, and I hadn't seen much at that point. I'm terrified looking at it. I can't take my eyes off it. It smells like stagnant pond water. It's my height standing on the porch. It is a bruised, watery blue. It is soaking wet, heavy drops of water falling from its sharp nose down its face. Drip, drip, drip. The porch underneath it gets darker as the water pools. Its eyes are a drowning blue, no whites, just a cold, heavy weight that feels like it can suck all of the warmth right out of me. I am looking into its eyes, and I am feeling like I am drowning, and it's cold. I can't look away. My body is vibrating. The world goes black. And then I am sitting at the dinner table. We are mid-meal, chewing on food I don't remember being served, watching my family talk and bicker as they eat while I feel nauseous. The steam from the bowl of tuna casserole is hitting my face, real and hot, but my mind is still out on that porch in the cold. I look around at them, my heart hammering, waiting for someone to notice I'm shivering or to ask how I even got into this chair. They're just eating and smiling, talking and arguing as families do, oblivious. They didn't see the thing in the glass. They hadn't felt the air die. My mom was telling me to eat my casserole, that I needed to eat it because she wasn't cooking anything else. She said if we didn't eat our food, we wouldn't get any ice cream. My sister is staring at me. She looks terrified, like she knows that wasn't me. Now I am almost 30. And I still find myself sitting at that table in my head sometimes. I've spent 2 decades carrying the weight of that silence. I don't care if anyone believes me. I just know what I saw. I know what I experienced. While I was lost in that drowning blue stare, that entity didn't just watch me. It occupied the space I vacated. It sat at that table and warmed my skin so perfectly that my own mother never realized her child was being piloted by something unnatural. When my sister and I finally spoke of it years later, I didn't have to even ask what the meal was. She remembered that night. It had stuck with her too. She explained why she was staring at me, why she was so scared. She described how I was acting, like me, but not me. The words were being spoken, but there was no emotion behind them. How I just sat there, staring and talking when needed, mechanically. She felt a cold pressure around me that no one else seemed to notice. She knew that night the me at the table was something else. Asking my parents about this has been difficult. My father passed this last year, and my mother's memory is hazy from time and drug abuse. I've spent years looking for the footprints of that blue, watery figure, only to find that the Texas Gulf and the humid stretch of the South are thick with cases of these specific phenomena. The nausea I felt while panicking at that table wasn't just fear, it was the snapback, reported by dozens of witnesses in similar cases throughout history in this very area. The true unknown is the realization that for a duration of that night, the world continued exactly as it should with a me that had no pulse, no memory, while most of my family couldn't tell the difference. I thought I might be crazy, that maybe there was something wrong or off in my head. Or maybe I was a kid and imagined it, right? I lived in the shadow of that dinner table, wondering why I was the only one who felt the air die, the scent of stagnant silt clinging to my skin. But as I've uncovered these records and mapped the experiences of others, from farmers in the 1890s to other children in the 90s, the isolation has vanished. I no longer feel weird or alone in my experience. I realize now that I wasn't malfunctioning, the world was. It points to a world where the surface we live on is merely a thin, fragile crust over an ancient, watery depth, one that can wear your skin and sit at your table without ever being detected. Deep in the piney woods and along the blackwater bayou, the folklore whispered by those who live near the Sabine speaks of something far older than glitches. They call it the Haint of the high water, an elemental hunger that has been watching from the depths since before the first roads were paved. Some say it is the memory of the drowned, a collection of every soul the river has ever took, stitched together into a single dripping entity that seeks the warmth of a life that's been stolen. They call it the skin warden, a creature that doesn't just haunt the land, it harvests the moments you look into its eyes too long. To see him is to be marked. To look into those drowning blue eyes is to understand that we are not the masters of our own reality. We are merely the current occupants of these shells, subject to a trade you never agree to. When the air dies and the scent of stagnant water fills the room, the swap is already complete. In that jagged gap, the mask of your reality doesn't just slip, it is taken over by the cold. So it begs my final chilling question. In a land defined by heat and heritage, what is actually beneath the soil of the Lone Star State? What is really out there in Texas, waiting for the next chance to take control? That concludes tonight's entry in the Horror Archive. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, you're officially part of the record now, whether you meant to be or not. New entries are added regularly, so if you want to hear more recovered accounts, make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss what gets archived next. Until then, stay aware of what you remember. And as always, this has been the Horror Archive.